Behind the scenes, the light and the flame, designing, producing, creating the name. From the rundown grind to the Emmy stage glory, they shape what we feel. Now tell us your story. Production roles, lights, camera, action. Let's wrap your life with emotion and passion. What's your story?
Hello and welcome to Storyteller from beautiful Beverly Hills ahead of the NBA All-Star Game. I'm Sky Muller, and we are just on the side of the road here. The town's hustling, bustling. You're going to hear some horns, maybe some sirens, a little Saturday honking, angry drivers going on. But so excited to welcome in a very special guest today, Nick Zacharczuk, the producer and content manager at the Jim Rome Show. Nick, welcome in.
Hi, Sky. How are you?
Good. Now that I got your last name out of the way,
Nailed
I think
it.
nailed it. Yeah. You'll go by Nick the rest of the show.
Yeah, Nick or Nick Z. Yeah, that works.
We like to open up with the cold open. Just crack a cold open. Maybe get some hot answers out of here. And I see you're rocking the Oasis shirt. Your wife works in music as well. You're a big music buff. Let's start with what was the first concert you ever went to?
First concert I ever went to was August of 1994 at the now defunct Irvine Meadows, RIP, to see the Cranberries.
What was that like?
I mean, well, I was 12 and I went with my mom. So it was pretty great. My mom's always kind of had a pretty great taste in music for a member of her generation, and really helped guide me along as a kid. And she was just like, hey, do you want to go see the Cranberries? And I was like, yeah, I'll go. That's great.
Do you have like a core memory from that experience?
There was like a really kind of stereotypical Gen X bro who, when they started playing Zombie, ripped his shirt off and started dancing in the aisle like the sun was about to engulf the earth. He was just having the time of his life, and I will always remember that.
I think they call that feeling the music a little bit.
Yeah. He was vibing, as the kids say. Yeah.
What about like a best or favorite concert experience?
Favorite concert experience? I mean, I mean, going to see Oasis about 6 months ago at the Rose Bowl for the reunion tour was quite something, considering no one ever assumed we would see them perform amicably again. And that was really great. But one that really stands out is my brother and I went and saw the Black Keys at the Troubadour down the road here from where we're sitting right now in West Hollywood, before they really blew up. And to see an act that kind of brings that energy and that kind of just overall volume in a room that intimate, especially when we were the level of fans that we were at that time, that memory really stands out.
Dang, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been experiencing live shows for a long time. You've also been working live content for a long time. You got into production when you were 17 years old. Let's get into Two Truths, No Lies. So all true stories here. What is your favorite thing about being tied into live?
There's something about the energy of live production, live television, however you want to describe it, that is unmatched. There's a lot of people I know who also work in production where there's a lot of pre-pro, you're taping shows, and nothing ever happens on the first take. So it's like, let's do this again. You're about to wrap up a tape segment and then something flubs at the last minute. So you got to do another 8 minutes uninterrupted all over again. And doing it live, knowing you're essentially without a safety net, as it were, everyone's kind of dialed in, which is really great. And then along with that component is if you're in a studio environment or wherever you might be doing a show and there's breaking news, that's one of my favorite things. Is there's breaking news. All right, what are we figuring out? What direction are we going to go in? What assets do we need? What assets do we have? And being able to coordinate all of that and being part of a team during a breaking news segment, whether it's something a little more fun, dumb, serious, which there's plenty of times where I've been on the air and, a beloved athlete or whomever has, very unexpectedly passed away. And it's like, all right, we're going to be doing breaking news for the next 4 hours because there was a shocking event that happened in the world of sports or whatever it is. But I think there's something about those instances in particular that I feel like I've always really thrived in and really enjoyed.
The most crazy breaking news and on the serious side that I remember being part of was I was running tag board for the Grammys, and we were like about 30 minutes from the red carpet show or from the pre-show maybe, And then I'm looking on the socials and I'm like, I think Kobe just died. And it was like, and then you tell everyone and it's like, okay, the entire show that we've spent all week rehearsing, building is gone. Like,
out
we're
the window.
focusing on this.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely crazy moment. And do you have like a core breaking news one that like comes to mind?
And it's unfortunately kind of similar. It was the death of Hall of Fame linebacker Junior Seau.
So that was so tragic.
Yeah. So growing up here in SoCal and working in LA TV locally at KCBS in LA, and Junior Seau went to USC, and he was a big presence in the LA community, even though he was playing for the San Diego Chargers. I got to meet him a number of times over the years. He would come into the studio in the off season, come on live on our show, Sports Central on Channel 2 here locally in LA. And he really was larger than life. Like, if you were a sports fan in the 90s, early 2000s, you're familiar with the kind of energy he brought to the game. And he was the same way off the air. And I was working at the NFL Network at the time, and he had been retired for a few years. And when news broke of his death down in the San Diego area, all of us at work were just kind of shocked. But then it was like, all right, it's go time. We got to be on the air. And it was a difficult day because it was somebody that I had met a number of times, coincidentally, over the years. And then I remember we ran sound of his mother at a press conference that day more than once, because we were on live for a number of hours and updating the story as it progressed throughout the day. And that's just a memory that kind of stays with me of like, that was a really hard, kind of rough day. But I remember it's the kind of event. It's like, I'm never going to forget that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and you know, we're talking a lot about live and serious side of breaking news live. There's also a lot of chaos that happens behind the scenes in a live show, especially for you when you're going 4 hours live a day.
Yeah.
And you've been in the industry for a long time, so I'm sure you have tons of stories. But did you have like in sports sometimes when a rookie, you know, takes a big hit in the first season, it's like, hey, welcome to the show, kid.
Yeah.
Did you have any moments like that in live production?
A couple, and they're less related to being in the studio. So like you mentioned, I started working in TV when I was 17. I was still in high school, and I was an intern, and I was coming in on the weekends, and I started at the end of January in 2000. My first day was the day before the Rams-Titans Super Bowl. You know, the famous, was it Kevin Dyson with the stretch at the 1 yard line?
Yes.
And Rams linebacker Mike Jones with the stop, if memory serves. And it was supposed to be a 2-day internship. After the Super Bowl wrapped up that Sunday night, I was like, hey, can I come back? And they were like, yeah. So I came back, and I kept coming back. But flash forward, and I looked this up last night to be ready. I was like, I remember it was March 4th, 2000. Stanford, UCLA. Stanford was the #1 team in the country at the time. UCLA was early on in the Steve Lavin tenure, and they had a number of high profile, like McDonald's All-Americans and guys who ended up playing in the pros, Dan Gadzurek, Jason Capono. And one of the more ballyhooed guys was suspended for the first portion of the season, Jerron Rush. And he had just come back from suspension. UCLA, I think, was unranked at the time. Stanford was the #1 team in the country. Jerron Rush hit a game winner at the buzzer to beat Stanford in Palo Alto. And they were flying back. And it was Saturday night. And they were like, hey, and this is pre-9/11, so this gives you the full context. The producer at the time was like, hey, UCLA's landing at LAX at 9 p.m. You're going to go with Glenn, our photog, and you're going to interview them as they're walking off the plane at the terminal. So it's like, all right, cool. Like, I literally had been there for 4 weeks. I was 17 years old. It's like, yeah, here's a microphone, have some questions. There's the photog, you know, make sure the camera's in focus, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we drove to LAX, parked, walked into the airport, went through security, and stood at the gate waiting for UCLA to deplane. And I interviewed Jerron Rush and Steve Lavin just walking through LAX, just like, hey, big buzzer beater, momentum heading into the tournament, blah, blah, blah. So like, that was a real kind of crazy moment that really like cemented my love for being in the business I was in. Yeah.
That realization that I mean, yeah, you just thinking back to probably what you felt in that moment. There's a high that you probably got off of that.
Oh, I was so scared. I was like, what am I doing? It's like, it was a Saturday in March. It was second semester of my senior year of high school. And I'm just like, man, I got to be back at school Monday morning. And I'm just like interviewing the UCLA head basketball coach right now. So yeah, it was really interesting, but also exciting. And I like couldn't wait to tell my friends about it when I was back at school Monday morning, because not everyone had cell phones. You weren't texting people being like, oh, look what I just did. It was like I had to wait until I got to school Monday morning. I could call maybe one or two friends that night or Sunday just to explain to them what I did. But yeah, it was pretty surreal.
That is awesome. And it's really, like you said, cemented your passion for this industry and why you've, stuck through it for so long, and you've seen so much cool stuff. And now, as we get into a little more behind the build, going behind the scenes like we like to do on the show, we want to get into what you're doing now with the Jim Rome Show, which is so cool. A few years ago, Jim took his radio show, still on radio, but took it to X and streams it every weekday. And it's just an awesome production and an awesome use case of taking something that was traditionally, audio only into something that's also video. And for today's audience, what's it been like working on that show for now? What is it, a year plus for you?
Yeah, just over a year. Yeah, he had the radio show. He's had the radio show for over 30 years, and has had multiple iterations of it on different traditional, sports broadcast networks. And then early 2024, his partnership with CBS Sports came to an end, and like you said, he kind of brought the show in, completely under his control. He owns and runs the show, and he is the show, and had that partnership with X to stream the show. And so it was kind of building out that streaming, operation of the show, which I joined after it had already been set up, maybe like 8 months in. So it is interesting. Just the other part of it is when I explain to people, it's like, oh yeah, how many shows do you guys do? Oh, 5 a week. How much time are you on the air? Oh, 4 hours a day, live every day. And it's when you explain to people who are in sports, but you're essentially doing 20 hours of live production every single week. It's like, that's a lot, So, unless you're maybe doing live events and games, and even then you're not live on the air for 20 hours in a week.
Well, I think what's crazy is not just the time you're live, but how many people are in the control room bringing that to life?
It is a lean crew, nimble. So it's, radio show along with a digital simulcast on X, along with 8 or 9 fast channels that the show airs on at the same time. On the radio side, there's Tom DiBenedetto, the executive producer, who's been with Jim for between 4 and 5 years now. Alex Hardy, another producer and helps run the show and some digital assets. And Alvin DeLauro, who runs the soundboard, technically, I believe, the technical producer. And then on the streaming side, it's myself and Lauren McLaren, the coordinating director, who is like the director, also switches the show, and is essentially our engineer. And it's him and myself on the streaming side, and that's it. It's just two of us doing 4 hours of TV 5 days a week.
And maybe you just explained it there because it sounds like it, but what would you consider maybe for people that don't know what's happening behind the scenes, what do you think would shock people the most about bringing this to life?
It's a little bit, it's the volume, like I said. So it's 4 hours of TV a day, and then just how our responsibilities are delineated and how much we do. It's, I'm building graphics out. I'm using the tagboard software to design and build new graphic templates to alter and augment existing ones. I'm grabbing assets every day, whether it's B-roll from the Yahoo Sports account or ESPN or whoever else to kind of support whatever it is we're talking about that day. We're editing sound, we're censoring sound, as Ernest Jones's appearance at the Super Bowl parade for the Seahawks this week demonstrated. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're creating Photoshops to kind of go along with whatever organically happens during the show as a joke, kind of in the mold of Inside the NBA, the way they do with Charles and Kenny and Shaq. I think it's just how many hats Lauren and I are wearing at the same time every day. And, it could be all that. And then it could just be like, oh, camera one in the studio's a little on the fritz. So Lauren's got to open his toolkit and open the camera with a screwdriver. when he's like, oh, he's also switching the show and directing. And I think that would surprise people the most. Seeing how many things we have to do on a daily basis to get on the air.
I mean, in the industry, you've been in a long time. Every role you've had, you wear a lot of hats, but this one feels like a crazy number of hats.
To a certain extent, yeah. Yeah. I think anyone who's worked in production long enough, or specifically sports production long enough, everyone has their assigned roles or their title. And there's plenty of people who show up and do just what's asked of them, and that's fine. But I think I've been lucky enough throughout my career to work in a bunch of different places where everyone takes so much pride in their work. So they're going to go above and beyond. They're going to do more than is asked of them because we're all there to put on the best show we can. So I'm going to do whatever I can to help out wherever I can. Sometimes people, you can step on a toe here and there. People want you to stay in your lane a little more. But, at the end of the day, everyone's pulling in the same direction. So you want to do everything you can to help put on the best show you can every single day.
I mean, when you're dancing that fast, you're going to step on a few toes, right? That's a fast dance there. That's amazing. Let's get a little bit into the production playbook and the real-time storytelling nature of the show as well, which I think is really fascinating. And the ability to source stories and breaking news and content as it's happening in real time, it seems like a real plus up for the show.
Yeah, it is really great. I think the format of the show allows for that as well. We usually go into any given day looking to hit 2 to 3, sometimes 4 big stories, just depending on what's happening, the night before, the day of, the week of. And then we're able to really quickly pivot to any sort of breaking news. Yesterday, great example. We started the show off with Adam Silver's latest attempts to curb tanking in the NBA, which they have been unsuccessful at for going on 40 years now. If you're a listener of the Bill Simmons podcast, he artfully explained this week how this was happening in 1984 with the Rockets and the Bulls during the Hakeem Jordan draft, and then they instituted the lottery the next year, and I could go on through the history of it for 40 years. So the Jazz and the Pacers got fined. We led the show with that, being like, hey, Commish, what are you going to do about this? And as we're wrapping up at the top of the show, the Chris Paul retirement story broke. So that was a good little button on that. And, we also had an asset that I remembered when he was initially cut loose by the Clippers. Chris Paul, Hall of Famer, all-time great. Sometimes you might question how clean of a player he was. So Lauren had edited a compilation of the times he has perhaps gotten a little physical with opponents below the waist. So I just remembered being like, oh, we had... What's the how do I have to moderate my language on this right now?
You don't have to at all.
Wonderful. We edited together. It was called a CP3 Nut Punch compilation. So I just remembered, typed in CP3 into our design library, called up the video. Breaking news. CP3 announces retirement, and Jim's like, you know what? It's a really interesting coincidence that a guy, kind of got kicked in the stick to end his career after kicking so many guys in the stick, and then went from the asset, and I rolled in the video right away, set it to loop, and Jim is just kind of cracking jokes, something just organic in the moment, being like, Chris Paul, we hardly knew ye. So I think the nature of the show allows us to really kind of pivot quickly, and having the knowledge of what we have at hand was like really key yesterday in a moment like that. So that was really great.
That is amazing. And the real-time storytelling of it all is just so fascinating, and it definitely makes the show a more engaging show. It's like everyone knows Chris Paul just retired, and so if Jim's not talking about it, they're gonna be like, hey, what are you doing? You're missing the biggest story that's happening right now. And the nimbleness and the agility of you guys to be able to do that while you're doing what you just explained, which is 17 other things, is even like when you were saying Lauren was editing a package or like a highlight melt. We had that
done in December.
Oh, you did have it done. Okay, so you went and pulled it up.
I knew it existed.
Wow.
And so it was just like, oh, cool, whatever. And then I saw, we'll have we have a shared document between us and the radio side of reaction from the clones, the Jim Rome fan army.
Yes.
And in that, it's like, okay, so, so-and-so posted this, we might hit this, blah, blah, blah. But in that, we'll throw in breaking news as well. And so in there, I can see Jim typing, like, just interesting, like, oh, because it's kind of a way for him to communicate to the executive producer or to us in the X control room, the streaming control room, that, that's the direction he might go in. And I was able to get that video ready, and have it ready at a moment's notice, even though he didn't ask for it. It was just more a joke he was going to make, and being able to grab that video and have that to support that segment of the show is, that's what kind of makes it as creative and fun as it can be.
One thing that's really cool for me having you on here today is that, early 2026. So we looked back as a company at last year, all the company usage, product usage throughout the year, and it speaks to the volume we're talking about and the speed at which you're putting stuff out. You were the number one user of Tagboard last year, and the number of clicks of go lives throughout the year.
Wow. I beat Fox Sports and NFL Media.
Yeah.
And
as a single user, yes, yes, you're clicking go live the most out of anybody. But it's just, it speaks to the work you're doing there and how much content you're truly sending through week by week.
I mean, it wouldn't be possible without you guys. The ability to pivot and add things as quickly as we do, it's made possible by Tagboard and the tools we have at our disposal. What was it? We had something the other day where it was some sort of list we do in our after hours show, which is Fast Channel exclusive. Adam Rank from NFL Media and the Bears podcast that he does, and a bunch of other things. Cal State Fullerton, college hoops caller as well. Go Titans.
Yes.
He was doing some sort of list, as he usually does, and Jim mentioned guys like smoking, and he just happened to mention real quick, oh, there's an iconic Sports Illustrated picture of Hall of Famer Richie Allen for the Phillies, and because I'm just a giant sports nerd, I knew exactly the photo he was looking for, so I quickly hopped into X, typed in Richie Allen Phillies dugout, because it's an iconic photo of him juggling 3 baseballs with just an unfiltered cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And so got that photo up. Jim was like, oh, that's great. And then I knew there's another photo of Hall of Famer Dave Parker with the Pirates in the 70s, kind of sitting in the dugout, just smoking on a heater as well. So, here's what it was. It was Len Dawson. Adam was doing iconic photos or iconic moments from the Super Bowl from Radio Row.
Oh.
And one of his things on his list was Len Dawson, the Chiefs Hall of Fame quarterback, smoking a cigarette on the sideline with a bottle of Fresca at his feet during the Super Bowl. And Jim it's an iconic photo. Jim loved it, and it's just we pivoted there, and it wasn't anything we were prepped for, and it was just the ability of what Tagboard allows us to do, and then the knowledge of oh yeah, I know what photo he's talking about. Pulled it up, got it on the air, and it was great.
That's amazing. Those photos are the most iconic photos. All the celebration, cigar, cigarette, whatever. They get me every time. I would want a shirt with each one of them on it, because I think
they're
awesome.
great. Yeah.
Let's get a little bit into what we call shot callers, which is looking ahead, looking to the future. You've been in this industry for a minute. You've seen transitions. You've been a part of them in many different ways. And specifically with the radio to streaming here with the Jim Rome Show, where do you think this industry is headed in the next 3 years or so?
That's a great question. It's a valid question. I don't know. And I think anyone who kind of speaks with any certainty on it, I would question how sincere their answer is. I think the whole part of what makes this interesting industry so exciting is the unknown, is where are we going to be 6 months from now, 12 months, 18 months, 3 years, like you asked? I don't know. But I think what I do know is you just got to stay ready. You got to stay on your toes and be ready for what's next, and how to, leverage what new opportunities emerge, what new tech emerges, and where you can capitalize on those new opportunities and those new abilities, and what new things are going to develop. They're going to allow you to create the shows you want to create, tell the stories you want to tell, and have it look the way you want to look. I don't know. I think that's it's not a sexy or fun answer, but I think it's the most honest one anyone can give.
Absolutely. And for someone that's had such long success in this career, is the ability to be willing to adapt what's kept you kind of in it and successful in it?
Yeah, I mean it's something Jim will say with guests. We had Tom Izzo on the show this week. College basketball legend, Hall of Famer. He and Jim go back a long ways. Izzo's been with Michigan State 31 years as the head coach and another 6, 7, 8 as an assistant. So he's been in the Big Ten for going on 40 years. And it's a motto he uses with guests. It's a motto we use off the air. It's adapt or die. Adapt or die. It's a little extreme, but it's also like you have to be willing to adapt and able to adapt. It's willing and able. You can't have one without the other. So I think the ability to embrace new opportunities, embrace new tech, is what keeps you relevant. It's what keeps you at the forefront, and it's what keeps you being able to work in this industry that we all love.
Your sports knowledge is crazy. Do you do trivia ever?
I do. But like bar trivia with friends.
Yeah.
It's funny. I do, but I'm also like not just a sports nerd. So I help out with other things too.
History you said, right?
Yeah. So like
but sports is slam dunk for you, it seems like.
It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's pretty it's pretty low hanging fruit. But we went, my wife and my daughter and I went to Big Sur with my brother, my sister-in-law, and my niece this past summer. And we campsite in Big Sur, but the campsite also had like a lodge and like a bar at the top of the campsite at PCH. So our last night there, we went up to the restaurant / little lodge, had some dinner, and we bribed our 4-year-old little girls with ice cream while the 4 adults participated in bar trivia with all the Big Sur locals. We finished in second place. It was pretty good. I remember there were a lot of esoteric, like Eastern European history questions, some like 70s and 80s music questions, but then there was like local knowledge, like what's the name of this bridge down on? It's like, okay,
that's what got you.
Yeah,
there, right?
I got by the local knowledge.
That's not fair. That's not fair at all.
Sorry, yeah, but yeah, plenty of trivia things over the years. Yeah.
I love it. It's great. It's so fun chatting with you, Nick. Let's close it out with what we call the storyteller shout out or shout outs. Anybody that you want to, give their flowers to that, like you, is, working behind the scenes, but putting together, award-winning content on the outside?
There's 2 people in particular. One definitely behind the scenes, one less so behind the scenes, but an old colleague and friend of mine from NFL Network from back in the day, who is now a producer, and he's been a show creator, a showrunner, Josiah Johnson. He played at UCLA. He's the son of College Hall of Famer Marcus Johnson. He and I worked together at NFL together. One of the smartest, most creative, funniest guys. Ended up co-creating, I should remember the name of the show. It was an animated show on Comedy Central. I think it was called The Kings of Chamberlain Heights, something like that. And then he has kind of leveraged his sense of humor and fandom into being, the meme king of basketball social media.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Josiah's the best, and he is the EP and kind of co-host of Gilbert Arenas' podcast with Underdog. Josiah, one of the funniest, most talented people I've ever had a chance to meet and work with. Shout out legend, Jumper. And then another really good friend of mine who I've known since my first day at NFL Network, David Fowler. He is the senior coordinating director for Amazon Sports. He was brought in to kind of help run and design their brand new NBA studio. And so he is the director of their pregame, halftime, and postgame programming with the NBA on Prime Video now. And one of the smartest, most talented, generous, warmest people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing in my career or outside of my career. And I think Amazon made an incredible hire to kind of help run the launch of their NBA product by bringing David on board.
That's awesome. 2 great shout outs, and shout out to you for being an absolute championing what you do, a champion of Tagboard, and it's been awesome to chat with you today, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you much. Thanks so much, Sky.
Yep, you know it. And I'm gonna end with Nick Zacharczuk.
Nailed it.
There we go.
There we go.
Producer and content manager at the Jim Rome Show. Thanks for jumping on Storyteller, and everyone have a great day.